Hello everybody, this is Matthew Johns at the London Putting Academy. I hope you're all well. Just a very quick video today in response to a question I got asked following the video I posted last week regarding consistency and how to get into the same start point for your putts every time. The video on the right, if you've seen that last video, will be one you're familiar with, and it's a video of Danny Willett that I took at Wentworth in 2012. So the person in question who came for a session with me, having watched that video, asked me whether they should just copy exactly everything Danny Willett's doing. And I guess there's sort of two parts to that answer. It's part yes, part no. By way of comparison, you can see a little image of Jordan Spieth on the left hand side. So really what we're going to do in this video today is just show you how they do some different things, but obviously both end up achieving the same task, which is to hit a putt on their intended start line with great speed control. Both good players, both good putters. So hopefully today, just trying to explain, as I say, that you don't all have to look the same when you're doing something, provided you can repeat and you can be consistent in what you do. There's no best way to do it, but there probably is a best way for you. So Danny Willett on the right hand side there, and Jordan on the left. So things that are quite similar. We've got pretty similar stance widths, about shoulder width apart. Pretty common amongst good players and good putters. I think it gives you a nice stable base to work from. Gives you a good level of consistency, a great level of balance, which helps to strike the ball in the middle of the face and control the stroke. No matter the length of stroke you're making, which is pretty important. Things like ball position here. You can see the ball's position just ahead of the sternum for both Danny and for Jordan there. So the ball being forward of the sternum there generally tends to create an upward hit, so the putter will be travelling upwards as it strikes the ball. That's one of the key components for getting the ball to roll well across the surface, along with putter loft, strike point, and then shaft lean, which is the next one we'll talk about. So if you look at Danny on the right hand side here, you can see that the putter shaft is already leaning towards the target here. And looking at Jordan on the left, he ends up in a similar position but does it through a nice little forward press. So you can see just there, just before the putter starts, he leans that shaft forward, and now all of a sudden they're in fairly similar looking positions. Putter shaft leaning just left of the head, definitely leaning towards the target. So a combination of that ball being left of the sternum, creating that upward hit, and the shaft leaning forward, both those things are going to help, along with a well fitted putter for good loft and then a nice strike point vertically on the face. They're going to combine to really help to make sure the ball rolls well across the surface, and getting the ball to interact consistently with the surface obviously has a huge effect on where it will finish. So again, nice and consistent in that sense. They both grip the putter left hand low. Again, you know, they look fairly similar doing it. Jordan maybe got a slightly straighter lead arm, his left arm slightly straighter, right arm slightly more bent than Danny, but pretty similar in that sense. So what do they do differently? Well, we've obviously spoken about the forward press that Jordan uses there before he gets the putter moving. That can serve as a nice trigger for his stroke, maybe a little bit of momentum, a bit like a waggle with your full shots, or you see some players, you look at Harrington and Henrik Stenson, just kind of hover and bounce the putt head a little before they get it going. Just helps to release that pressure and tension and get it moving a little bit. Whereas you'll see Danny on the right hand side there starts from a much more sort of static position. He's in that position and he's happy just to get going from there. So, you know, again, slightly different. Probably the biggest difference here, and the biggest difference I'd like you to be aware of in their strokes and understand how this can impact on your stroke, is in their head position. So again, we're going to start with Danny on the right hand side. I'm going to draw two lines here. I'm going to draw effectively like a line down from his right ear, straight down, and line down from his left ear. And what you'll see there is his head's pretty centred between those lines. So we can be fairly certain there that his head is looking straight down at the golf ball, and in that little putting mirror that he's got down on the floor here, we can be pretty happy that if he were to look at his eye line, his eyes will be running pretty parallel to the line of the putt that he's trying to hit. So as he looks down into that mirror, his left eye and his right eye would be horizontally at the same height on the mirror. Let's take a look at Jordan on the left. So you can see quite a difference here now. If I draw that line straight down out the side of his head, left ear and right ear, you can see his head's tilted quite heavily to the right. Something that I think, certainly from what I've seen, he seems to do throughout his whole game. Tilts his head that way a little bit. Now, neither's right or wrong, because both these guys have learned how to manage that. They've learned how to start in those two positions, and they've learned how to get in a position there where, from these differing head positions, they can both aim the putter effectively, they can both create a shape of stroke, and both create a putter face position of impact that starts the ball on their intended line. So neither's right, neither's wrong. It's just about understanding for them what they need to do to hit a great putt. So how does that apply to you? Well, going back to what I spoke about in the last video, it's about consistency. So you look at Danny on the right, he would be using that mirror there, I would anticipate, to make sure that his eye line, his ball position, his stance width, etc., etc. is the same every time. I don't know if Jordan's a big user of a putting mirror, but I certainly would think he's aware of that head position, and he's aware that he needs to maintain that because it helps him to putt at his best. Should you be doing either of these? Well, not necessarily. I think everybody's got their own neutral. It's about, for me, you know, with every student I see, finding their best position, finding where they're most neutral, and finding where they can aim the putter and make the shape of stroke that can start the ball on the intended start line most consistently. And you may look like Danny Willett, you may look like Jordan Spieth, so you may have a head position that looks like this, you may have a head position that looks like this, you may be somewhere between the two or somewhere slightly different. So what I'd encourage you all to do is to try to find that position, find the place where you can most effectively aim the putter, find the place that you can most effectively start your putt on your intended start line, and then learn to repeat it. So again, going back to what we spoke about last time, it's then about using your mirror, using any training aids or practice aids that you do within your practice to help monitor and maintain your consistency. I hope that makes sense. Any questions, as always, you can get me on Twitter at MattJohnsGolf, or direct by email, matt@londonputtingacademy.com. Thanks for taking time to watch this video. I hope it helps, and happy putting.